It ranks as one of the worst government scandals of the past decade. Conservatives have been seething since 2013 over what they view as weaponization of the IRS to use against conservative groups for their political beliefs. The fight for justice and accountability has gone on ever since, with some on the other side insisting it was all fake news.
This is a story of a government that weaponized against a private citizen in an effort to silence them on the basis of their political beliefs.
Some people might say, well, this happened to you under the Obama administration. There's a new sheriff in town. Hasn't all that changed?
I wish I could tell you yes, but the answer is no. Nothing has changed. The swamp is still very much in control.
You might say the whole IRS targeting scandal began with Texas Tea Party conservative Catherine Engelbrecht. In summer 2010, she applied to the IRS to start a nonprofit voting rights group, True the Vote. But instead of tax-exempt status from the IRS, what she got was an intimidating onslaught of unwanted attention from the feds.
Starting in the summer of 2010, where I was put through 23 either audits or investigations or inquiries by 5 different government agencies.
The IRS audited her business and personal tax returns. The FBI Domestic Terrorism Unit came knocking 6 times. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms showed up for inspections, as did OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and the EPA in Texas. And this had never happened to you before?
No. I mean, prior to filing that paperwork with True the Vote for nonprofit status, prior to that, the only involvement we'd ever had with government is paying our taxes.
Meantime, the IRS vetted her nonprofit application with a rigor more appropriate for a top-secret background check.
We were asked upwards of 300 questions that had far more to do with opposition research than it did with recognizing, whether or not we were going to be responsible financially. The IRS wanted to know every single Facebook posting I'd ever posted, every tweet I'd ever tweeted, everywhere I'd ever spoken since the inception of the organization and to whom, and where I had intended to speak for the following 12 months. That had no business being asked. My name is Catherine Engelbrecht, and I'm the chairwoman of True the Vote.
Engelbrecht complained, got a lawyer, and became the face of the IRS conservative targeting scandal. As for the face of the abusive federal agency, that was Lois Lerner, the IRS attorney and manager overseeing tax-exempt groups. In May of 2013, she was speaking at an annual meeting of nonprofit lawyers in Washington, D.C., when the scandal broke wide open. Law professor Philip Hackney was at the meeting.
So I was actually in the meeting where Lois Lerner talked about this.
What did she say, in essence?
It was an apology to the Tea Party. She apologized in that meeting.
Lerner made her stunning apology before the release of an Inspector General report detailing the misbehavior. She then clammed up and took the fifth before Congress.
I have not done anything wrong. I have not broken any laws. I have not violated any IRS rules or regulations. I have decided to follow my counsel's advice and not testify or answer any of the questions today.
Engelbrecht sued the IRS and finally got nonprofit status for True the Vote after waiting 3.5 years. But she continued her lawsuit against the IRS, demanding accountability. Meantime, the scandal widened. Congress subpoenaed thousands of Lois Lerner's IRS emails, yet they were destroyed, along with security logs, Lerner's BlackBerry, and her hard drive, which was shredded at a recycling center.
Really? You like that? Yeah.
America was torn between laughter and tears.
The federal government has built an entire complex in the deserts of Utah to store everything Americans have ever said to each other. But intergovernment conversations?
Hackney used to work in the IRS chief counsel's office, but left before the scandal. Today, he's one of the few willing to publicly defend the tax agency amid Engelbrecht's claims. In a 23-month period, she had 15 audits, investigations, and inquiries from the federal government, including the IRS, which stopped as soon as she filed a lawsuit in the summer of 2013.
I don't know the particular case, and I can't really comment on her particular situation. Has the IRS ever been used in problematic ways? Probably so. I mean, the Nixonian period is a problematic one. I never saw it used in that way and never felt uncomfortable with the people that I worked with.
One of the things they wanted to see was every Facebook post she'd ever made.
I don't think they should have been asking for the Facebook post, and that was part of what Lois talked to that day, was that they dialed those things back, they pulled those things away. They weren't correct questions to ask. But I know these people, they work hard every day. Are they going to make mistakes? Yes. But are they working their best to do their best every day? Absolutely. They really do.
He says new research shows that the IRS didn't only target conservatives.
They actually used the names of organizations like Occupy and Acorn. So they're doing
liberal groups.
that. Yeah, they were looking at liberal groups by name as well. And a number of them. It wasn't a small amount. And
Maybe they were looking at those names to expedite and looking at conservative names to delay.
But they didn't. They took a long time with a number of those organizations as well. And in fact, they denied, the only organizations denied status during that time was a Democratic women's group called Emerge.
On this vote, the yeas are 231.
In 2014, the House held Lerner in contempt, but the Obama Justice Department didn't prosecute. Last September, the Trump Justice Department followed suit, denying congressional requests to reopen a criminal probe. In October, Attorney General Jeff Sessions settled long-standing lawsuits filed by 469 conservative groups, noting it is now clear that during the last administration, the IRS began using inappropriate criteria to screen applications that disproportionately impacted conservative groups. There is no excuse for this conduct. This abuse of power will not be tolerated. After 5 years and nearly $2 million in attorney's fees, Engelbrecht also finally settled her case in January. But it didn't end the way she'd hoped.
We wanted there to be some written codification that this could not happen to any other organization, to any other citizen, ever.
She didn't get that assurance or any money damages.
This is a government weaponized against its people, and they don't feel any responsibility to disclose what they've done. They act with impunity, and it is very much a outwit, outplay, outlast. True the Vote was never supposed to be about left or right. It was supposed to be about principle. And naively, I thought that election integrity would be something that could be a very uniting effort, that we would have the opportunity to work with people from both sides of the aisle. I walked into a buzzsaw that I could have never imagined. I'm still paying the price for it.
The government wouldn't agree to an interview, but pointed out that Engelbrecht did get something very rare from the IRS, an admission and an apology. The settlement statement reads in part, the IRS admits that its treatment of plaintiff was wrong. The IRS expresses its sincere apology.